Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, my Karen mother-in-law demands to visit us. I don't like my mother-in-law. When I first met her, it was to go to an important holiday dinner hosted by my husband's, then boyfriend's, extended family. She met us at the hotel and met me before I went, but then took my husband aside and said I needed to change clothes because what I was wearing was not appropriate. I cried. My husband said we weren't going anymore and told his mom to leave. We made up later. As my husband and I dated, I learned more about his relationship with her. They didn't talk often before me or since. He went to visit her one time alone. Fast forward, and he hasn't seen her for a while. For whatever reason, they never coordinated a time for her to visit, or we always had some excuse. Finally, she calls my husband and says she's coming this weekend to visit. It's Tuesday night. I immediately say no when my husband tells me. I tell him that my nephew will be in on Sunday morning and she would drive 16 hours one way. He hesitates but agrees and tells his mom it can't be this week, pick another time. His mom guilt trips him, says there's always some excuse and that I don't like her. She says she feels like if she doesn't see him right now, she may never get to see him again. So he decides to let her come with some conditions of not seeing the house and not seeing me. I respect his choice, but I'm still mad because regardless of their relationship and the repair they need, he still let her come out last minute and stay the 2 days before I have company for a week. I'm mad he didn't see that as impolite and selfish. We fought and he said, "She was right. I do have to choose. This sucks." Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. I've never been a fan of people inviting themselves over to stay without asking first. It sounds like she thinks you're going to keep putting her off, and honestly, it sounds like you want to. Explain that you have a lot going on and give her some dates that will work for you for her to come visit. Not the jerk. Your husband is the jerk for not giving his mother a firm no. His compromise only makes you look bad and you and him look divided, which is probably what mother-in-law wants. Not the jerk. The umbilical cord is being stretched way too tight. By guilting him into letting her come over, it shows that she still has control over him. You need to be there with your husband when y'all talk with her again. Explain why this weekend won't be a good time for either parties. The husband needs to be on your side. He married you, not his mother. You're the jerk. Always with the stories about wives who have problems with mother-in-law. Of course, Reddit will cheer you on like they always do. But the karma is that one day you will be the mother-in-law who wants to maintain a relationship with your own son. Maybe you will want to visit or get to be involved in your grandkid's life. But then it will be your turn to deal with a narcissist daughter-in-law who wants nothing to do with you. She will post about it on Reddit and everyone will cheer her on. That's the good thing about horrible daughters-in-law. One day, they will be the mother-in-law that everyone wants to talk smack about. I stalked my husband for 2 years before I formally met him. I, 24 female, married my husband, 28 male, about a year and a half ago. The first time I saw my husband, I was a freshman in high school and he was a freshman in college. He was walking his dog at the park when he stopped to talk to my brother, who's 27, because they happened to go to high school together. That was the moment I became hooked. The same day I found his Instagram, his family's social media, and also where he lived, since my brother offered to walk him home while I tagged along. When I got home that day, I knew I wanted him, but of course, the age difference. So I came up with a plan. I found out his younger brother was only 1 year younger than me and would be attending my current high school. I figured that I had to befriend his younger brother by any means possible next year when he moves up as a freshman while I become a sophomore, and I did. It took around halfway of my junior year where we became best friends and he invited me over regularly to his house to hang out. This is where I was able to befriend my current husband's mom, and God, did she love to talk about him. From her, I found out what college he goes to, his past girlfriends, what schools he had gone to, his favorite and least favorite foods, his pet peeves, what he likes, etc. Eventually, when my visits started getting more and more frequent, I formally met current husband again. Current husband, I'll call him E, would come over every other week and stay for either Friday through Sunday or Saturday through Sunday. On those days, I specifically would wear my cutest outfits to impress him and also joke around with him a lot. Eventually, I befriended him as well. A little background on E. He is the school record holder for a certain sport at my school, which I just so happened to do. And around halfway through my senior year, E came back during the season to help coach the current high school athletes, which included me, in order to get some more volunteer work hours in, and I got to spend a lot more time with him. I loved every second of it. We were friends before, But then we became much closer since I got to spend lots of extra time with him after school, where sometimes he would even drive me home since we lived relatively close. Fast forward to when I had to move away to New York City for college. E moved in with me since he coincidentally got a job near my college. Edit. I lied. It wasn't a coincidence. I found out he got a job offer and applied to a college nearby his workplace. Being each other's only friends in a new state, we became incredibly close. We started dating when I was almost in sophomore year of college. He proposed to me after I graduated, and we just got married almost a year ago. He knows absolutely nothing about how I truly know him and believes it is fate that brought us together through his younger brother. Lately, I've been debating on whether or not I should tell him, or at least his younger brother, the truth, since the only reason I befriended him was to get closer to E. I feel guilty every time he tells others our love story, because the truth is, I've known him for 10 years, while he's only known me for about 7 years. Update. I read a reply saying the best thing for myself is to keep it a secret, which is what a lot of people are saying, but the best thing for him is to tell him, and I figured that person really is right. I will be telling him this Tuesday on his day off. He deserves to know who he married. Update. I told him the truth on July 4th. After the fireworks mostly ended and we were heading back, I asked him in the car, wouldn't it have been weird if we had met each other before the first time we actually met? But we just didn't think of each other as significant at the time? He smiled and turned to me and said, that's impossible. There's no universe where we would have met and I wouldn't think of you as significant. That statement struck me in the heart because I know I would soon prove that sentence very wrong. But I continued on with my plan anyway. What if I told you that we had met each other before? Before that time I was introduced as his little brother's friend. He looked at me like I was crazy, so that's when I pulled over on the side of the road and pulled out my phone to show him the post I put up here before that explained everything. He took about 8 minutes to read the whole thing, and when he finished, he put the phone down and stared straight ahead, almost like he was dumbfounded, scared, and confused all at the same time. I started throwing out every excuse and apology I could muster at the moment for about 15 minutes straight when he decided to tell me to stop, and I did. Then he just sat there and sobbed uncontrollably for about 10 minutes before he finally asked me how much of our relationship and how much of my identity was fabricated according to his liking. I told him the honest truth. None of my personality or identity was fabricated for him, except for the fact of how we met. The only thing I ever changed about myself to make him like me more was lying about liking Chinese food. I can't stand Chinese food. But other than that, everything else was real. Although my friendship with his younger brother was built upon ill intentions, my friendship between his brother and I is now one of the most genuine friendships I've ever known. He just cried and told me that he doesn't want to divorce at all, but he does want us to have some time apart so that he can absorb the truth that I gave to him. He also said that he expects me to tell his brother and mom this Friday because they deserve to know the truth just as much as he did. I told him okay, and we drove the rest of the ride home in silence. When we got home, he hugged me and cried for about 5 minutes before he got out of the car, packed his stuff, and said that he will be staying at a nearby hotel for now. He said that he knows that he still loves me, but he just doesn't know yet how to react to the fact that the beginning of our relationship was very, very orchestrated. To sum it all up, I guess telling him was a success. I honestly don't know. He sent me a good night and an I love you text last night while he was at the hotel, so I guess he feels more betrayed than mad. Update 2. Woke up this morning to find out that hubby not only lied about going to a hotel to stay at, but also lied about not wanting a divorce through a text message. He went to his family's home, not a hotel, told them the entire story himself, probably exaggerated it too to make me seem crazy. His whole family wants nothing to do with me too, claims I'm a psycho. He said that he lied about going to a hotel because he knew if he told me the truth, I would try to stop him. Honestly, I feel betrayed. I tried to be a good wife by showing him the true me, and this is what he does? I did all this work just for it to end up like this? Honestly, I kind of deserve it. I didn't even tell him in the first place because I felt bad. I told him because I had a suspicion that he was catching on to the fact that I knew him for 2.5 years before he knew me, largely because I found out he was keeping my old phone in his work desk. My old phone that has screenshots of a lot of his old Instagram posts, plans in my notes app about him, etc. So I guess he never truly loved me, and if he can't get past an honest confession like this one, I might update this in a few years when I find a new husband. Still a better love story than Twilight. Oh, come on. I can't be the only one who thought what she did was kind of sweet, no, maybe? No, Reddit boy. You're just really weird. Last year, my boyfriend, who's 33, male, quit his job without telling me, and now he refuses to look for another job. My boyfriend, 33, male, quit his job last year without telling me. I only found out 2 days before the rent was due. We split everything 50-50 when I asked him for his part of the rent. When I asked, he simply told me he quit because he was tired of working at that place. Since then, I've been paying for everything, including rent, food, gas, bills, and anything he needs. I had to work 2 jobs while going to school for a while. It was hard, but I finally finished school a couple of months ago and I found my dream job. I make enough to live comfortably, even take care of my boyfriend and still have money for saving. However, I still want him to get a job to support himself because I think, as an adult, he needs to have a job. But I feel like he relies on me way too much and he thinks since my job pays well, he doesn't have any reason to work. He always says things like, "You make good money now, so maybe you could buy me my dream car." Or, "You should open a business for me to run." Yeah. I don't mind supporting my partner financially if there's a legit reason that prevents him from working, but that's not the case. He spends most of his time playing games, meeting up with friends, or just at home watching movies. I still have to do all of the chores and take care of our dogs. His family thinks that he's been working to take care of me so that I can finish school, which is not true. Now they think I was able to finish school and get a good job all because of him. I don't even want to explain it to them. I just want him to get a job and have a future. When I try to talk to him, he tells me that I'm not supportive, and now that I have a good job, I look down on him. What should I do? Is it even worth it to try to talk some sense into him? I don't want to start dating at this age, but I feel like I just can't keep doing this. Edit. Many people have asked, why him? Why did I stay for years? What did I see in him? So I just want to answer that. We started off pretty normal. We split everything 50-50, and I had no problem with that. But throughout the years, he started showing his true self. I was in school, and school was the most important thing to me at that point, so I invested all of my time and energy into it. I was in the PhD program, so I had stipend, which was around $30,000 a year, which was enough for myself, but not for 2 people. After he quit his job, I was very stressed out, but I had to focus on school and tried to do everything I could to survive. I didn't have time to really think about my personal life, and I also didn't want to go through any changes in life, so I just let it be. In addition, he guilt trips me a lot, so I felt bad for him. But now that I have a stable job, I have time to really think about my future. I don't see myself being with him long term. I don't think it would be as easy as, "Hey, let's break up," because I know he wouldn't let it go that easy. But I'll start planning to get out. Maybe ask some friends for support. His name is not on the lease, so I'll stay where I am and he'll have to move. Would I be the jerk if I go on vacation instead of my brother's wedding? My brother, Tom, 36 male, and I, 26 female, have never had a really solid relationship. Due to our age gap, we didn't spend much time together, and by the time I was old enough to develop a personality, he was moved out of the house. For the last 2 years, my brother and his fiancée Sarah, who's 32, have been planning their wedding, and it's coming up in September. I was asked to be a bridesmaid. I figured I was only asked as a courtesy since I'm her soon-to-be sister-in-law, but I still took it seriously. I've been a bridesmaid for the last 2 years. Just a few weeks ago, I managed to save up to buy the $800 bridesmaid's dress. Overall, in the last 2 years, between group outings to parties, dinners, lunches, clothes, etc., I spent thousands of dollars. Eventually, all the girls in the wedding and I became extremely close, and I started to get hyped for the wedding. Sarah recently got close with her brother's wife, Becky, who's 30. Last week, she dropped the ball on me that she no longer wants me to be a bridesmaid, and she would prefer if Becky would take my place. It broke my heart a little, but it's her wedding, and it's not my place to tell her how to run it, so I said it was fine. Yesterday, I went to my brother's house to pick up my bridesmaid's dress and was going to see if I could return it since it was within the time frame. Sarah was completely appalled and said that Becky was going to wear it since she and I are about the same size. I said that would be fine, but they would have to give me the $800 for it. Sarah said that Becky can't afford it, and I should just be nice and let her use it, and said that I could keep it after the wedding. I explained that I'm not just giving away the dress, and I'm not ever going to use it after the wedding. After some bickering back and forth, I just ended up taking it and leaving. My brother and Sarah tried to compromise with me and say I could be the assistant flower girl, and I felt offended at their offer. After I said no, they then said that Becky could give me $250 for it. Again, no, and I returned the dress and got a full refund. I told them I understand that it's their wedding, but they're being extremely disrespectful to me, and I don't need to deal with it, and I'm not going to the wedding. Today, my coworker says she has an extra round-trip plane ticket to go to Miami that she'll sell to me for half price, Plus, I would have to pay for half the hotel, and I can go hang out with her in Florida. The only downside is that I'll be in Florida for the week of my brother's wedding. So, will I be the jerk if I just go to a party in Miami instead of going to my brother's wedding? Why can't they add another bridesmaid? The reason they wouldn't just add other bridesmaids is because there isn't enough room at the table. Forget them, they did you dirty. That's what I was thinking. I would also lose out on the $800 dress, and if I was going to be the assistant flower girl, I would have to buy another dress. This whole ordeal has stressed me out. Maybe I need to relax in Miami. What are others saying? My mom has been calling me Switzerland. She supports me with whatever I plan to do. My brother has been on his bride's side and says that I'm being childish. My coworker is currently trying to convince me to keep my mouth shut about my trip and then start posting photos of it on social media an hour before the wedding. Update. So unfortunately, since Reddit is awful at keeping secrets, Becky saw the post on TikTok, so she obviously let the cat out of the bag. My whole family is split on what I should do, but after a heated argument, it was mutually agreed that I will not be attending the wedding. My brother and future sister-in-law cannot seem to comprehend that this is not about the dress, but how they treated me. For those wondering what our parents have to say, our mother says, if you're gonna be a jerk, don't be upset when someone's a jerk back. My brother and future sister-in-law think I'm the jerk. But by the way, my mom paid for the hotel for my trip. I think it's safe to assume whose side she's on. I appreciate all the love and support I got. I will have an amazing time in Miami, and I won't feel the slightest bit guilty thanks to the overwhelmingly positive responses I got on here. Department manager wants me to stay late to finish all duties. Sure. This happened a couple of years ago in December of 2019. I got a job at a higher-end grocery store in the area as I was planning on saving for when I started college in the fall of 2020. The store has all kinds of different departments like a market cafe, pizza and sub shop, cheese, etc. I aced my interview and was hired in the bakery department specifically for breads only. That'll be important later. The first 4 months was a breeze, but after lockdown ramped up, my doctor put me on leave until August. When I returned, a lot of people had quit in the bakery. I was taking college classes now, so I was working night shift part-time from 5 to 9. My department manager, Hannah, informed me that they were short-staffed on nights and I might be on my own 1 day a week. I was sure I would be getting help for the rest of the nights. Nope. Weeks go by and I barely got help. I'm burning myself out doing closing shift on my own, along with my schoolwork. No one was in the dessert or breakfast section, and I can't talk to anyone about it because they're gone by the time I clock in. I complained to the bread manager, Jim, and he told me to talk to Hannah since she runs the whole department. Sure, fine. This is how the conversation went with Hannah. Me. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about the workload. A lot of the day shift people leave their mess and can't clean up after themselves. I have to do that and my duties, which isn't fair. Are you hiring anybody for nights? I can't keep running around and using my inhaler so much too. Hannah. Oh yeah, we're having a hard time filling the night shift roles. We could always train you for desserts and breakfast. Me. That's not what I meant. I meant assistance, not more responsibility. I can't do everything in the bakery and close with only 4 hours. Hannah. Well, you can figure something out. Just make sure you don't leave a mess during closing though. You can't leave until everything's done. I can't leave until everything's done? Okay. Ever since she said that, I started documenting every time I had to do 3 jobs at once. I would take my sweet time when I didn't have a class the next day, making sure I clocked out at 11 p.m. each time. The amount of stuff that kept piling on was ridiculous, but I was following her instructions. HR noticed my clock in and out times and wanted me to come by their office. I told them everything, including what Hannah had said to me, along with the photos I took. Suddenly, everything changed. At 9 sharp, they were kicking me out, and whatever was left for the morning. Hannah was reprimanded, but wasn't fired until she was caught selling 2-year-old expired pumpkin pies to customers during Thanksgiving. That day sure was a doozy. I was shocked when I saw all those empty boxes she already sold. Edit. I was working morning shift and saw many of the habits they had when I was first hired, but it didn't affect me until I was working night shift alone. I had no idea how bad it was until I experienced it. During mornings, I always made sure to clean up after myself, even the bread slicer, which can have caked-on mess by the afternoon. For those curious about the pumpkin pie incident, we were all working overtime and preparing for Thanksgiving. I heard from this older lady that works day shift that she was cleaning out the freezer and found 2-year-old pumpkin pies from a vendor we package and sell. She was asking Hannah what to do with them because there were a lot of them. I forgot how many were in a box. Hannah said, "Just put a label on them and place them on display. We can get more profit that way." Excuse me, what? The older woman said she was shocked and used her PTO to leave early. She was scared of jeopardizing her job, but she told me it was weighing on her conscience and told the store manager. I truly forgot the woman's name, but she was extremely nice to me. There were about 7 large boxes full of mini and large pumpkin pies. Hannah was promptly fired. Sweet karma. Am I the jerk for leaving a family gathering due to my parents always over-complimenting my brother? My brother has had a lot of time for hobbies in recent years. Something he spent a lot of time on is cooking. Now he's a really good cook. He and his husband have a decent-sized house, so a lot of our routine family dinners are held at their place, and my brother volunteers to cook most of the time. When he does, without fail, as soon as our parents come through the door, or we do, it's always, "Smells really good in here, doesn't it? Darn, you are making me hungry from the street," or things along those lines, and they keep saying such things throughout our time there. At first, I didn't think one way or another about it, but we're going on well over 2 years of this happening. They never give compliments if I or our other siblings have them over. They didn't say anything about the murals my brother and his wife painted on their walls, very big and hard to miss, until they pointed right at them and asked about it, and all our parents said was, "Oh, that's nice." Our sister is always making bath bombs and candles for her home business, so her place always smells nice too, and they don't say anything about that or encourage her. They just don't give any compliments or acknowledge anything about us, our hobbies, or our homes, but they go overboard with our brother. It's not like they neglected him as a kid and it's some attempt to make up for it. They gave us all pretty equal attention and support growing up. The last time we were having dinner at my brother's house, I was telling my family about how I was excited for my fiancé to be starting his dream job. My siblings were happy for him, but our parents didn't say anything and went right back to singing their praises of the second coming of culinary Jesus and how he should start a food truck. I was pretty done at that, and instead of being there in an irritated mood, I waited a few minutes and acted like I had gotten a text from a friend and had to go, said my byes and love yous and left. A little while later, my mom called and asked what was wrong because my family had noticed my phone screen was dark when I pulled it out, so they didn't buy the text story. I told her I just didn't have it in me to sit through another dinner where they forgot they have 3 other kids with things going on in their lives they'd like some acknowledgement from them over. I've been at odds a bit with my parents and them telling me I'm being immature. My siblings found out why we're currently fighting, and our brother and his wife are in agreement with me and said they've been getting tired of it too. I've apologized to my brother, but not my parents. So, am I the jerk? Edit. We bring dishes or someone else cooks when we have dinner at his house and he doesn't want to cook. We also have meals at our houses and there isn't a peep from our parents. On one hand, yes, he is a better cook and he should get at least a, "Hey, this is good." But when they're taking home half of sister-in-law's pie when they eat there, she doesn't get anything but a thanks. They use a lot of the products my sister makes, free of charge, and also don't say anything besides thanks, and will stay hands-off helping her promote, but they were quick to jump in and tell our brother to go open a food truck and ideas to go about it. Not the jerk. It doesn't sound like you lashed out. You just exited a situation you'd seen before and that you knew would be unpleasant and unfair. You drew some boundaries. Maybe it was clunkily executed, and now it's brought the whole thing to light. But ultimately, that's probably for the best. Maybe it'll open their eyes. No tip on a $300 bill. Reason? Because they're a non-profit. I'm sitting here on my break, and I just want to know if this is actually a thing, because I'm kind of salty. I work at a small poke bowl/sushi place that's similar to Chipotle in that it's a prep and go. Dine in is optional. The bowls do take quite a bit of time though, since customers build their own. Same thing if they want sushi rolls. Anyway, it's 12:30ish and this group of around 20 comes in. I'm thinking, wow, since it's our usual lunch rush, plus this massive group, and it was a little overwhelming to say the least. This lady says she's going to pay me for her whole group, and it takes maybe 30 minutes to get through everyone. While ringing her up, I ask what the group is about, and she says it's some sort of summer camp. The total came out to just over $300, and when I flip to the tip screen, she just looks at me and goes, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to tip since we're a non-profit organization. You guys did a great job though." It was a little disappointing to run around taking and making orders for everyone just to be told they couldn't tip because they were a non-profit. They even said they'd probably be coming back for the duration of their camp, which I'm not looking forward to if it's going to be all this stress and no reward. So tell me, is this some kind of rule for company budgeting? Am I the jerk or are they? Edit. To clarify, this is not a typical dine-in restaurant, and I included this earlier because I know there's a difference when it comes to expecting tips. I don't have an issue with regular customers not tipping, although it is appreciated and I try to make conversation and make sure that they're taken care of to earn it. I'm annoyed that a company-funded party of 20 came in, assuming this is a larger nonprofit with money, and left nothing. I was also wondering if my annoyance was justified or if she was telling the truth about not being allowed to. To be honest though, I would have been happy with $10. Also, I'm a girl, since some of the people in the comments think I'm a guy. I work for a nonprofit. We are allowed to tip. I've done a fair share of delivery work. It's pretty normal for people in some kind of secretarial position to claim that they don't have authority to provide a tip. I tend to view this as a BS excuse, of course. They're clearly allowed to pay for the incurred expense, and the tip should be viewed as part of the expense. I'm sure there are genuinely some bosses and higher-ups that will notice and kick up a fuss that a signer included a basic tip, but it happens far too commonly for that to be the majority case in my opinion. I do notice that a lot of people who are in positions that are generally viewed as socially good or altruistic, whether that's charity work, nurses, teachers, etc., are very bad tippers or they don't tip at all. And there's a lot of entitlement and a sense that they don't have to because everyone knows they're good people already. I haven't done much serving work, but I'm reminded of how many server friends I've known that don't like serving church groups for that same reason. And my main job now is teaching, and I definitely notice a big self-righteous and smug note in a sizable number of coworkers. Of course, usually whenever I bring this up on Reddit, I get downvoted because how dare you badmouth these people, they're our heroes, etc. I used to work with city government. We couldn't get reimbursed for more than 10% tip. That was 15 years ago. It probably hasn't changed. I work for a nonprofit now. We can tip, just within reason, but I suppose her specific organization could set up rules for that sort of purchase. When I was a server many moons ago, I had the exact same situation. I saw the absence of gratuity when cleaning the table and found the host on our way out. She stated the exact same thing as did your guests. My reply in front of the group was, "You may be nonprofit, but I'm certainly not. Do you not pay your employees who provide a service to you?" She turned as red as the lobster her friend ate, and I managed $20 out of the cheap jerk. Not nearly an appropriate gratuity, but the satisfaction was priceless. Am I the jerk for telling my retired military father what I said? I'm 32, male, and my family is what I would consider generational military. We have ancestors that fought in World War I and beyond. I grew up being moved from place to place, going long stretches without seeing my father, and I hated it. Anytime I'd say I missed my dad or I wished I could see him more, I was quickly told to be quiet and be proud of my dad for being a hero. I once was upset we had to move because I was finally making friends and was told to not be selfish. I'm one of 4 kids. My brother and sisters all enlisted at 18. I chose not to, and while I'm not the only person in my extended family to do so, I knew it was disappointing. Originally, I chose not to enlist just because I didn't want to be in the military. However, over time, after learning more about it, I find the concept just wrong. I've never told my family this. I went to college, got my dream job, and eventually married my wife. We have 2 beautiful daughters. Because of our own upbringing, I do my best to be at every recital, school concert, soccer game, etc. I help my eldest with her homework, have special days with each of them separately, and then as family. Recently, I had the opportunity for a promotion that would require traveling 2 weeks out of the month. My wife and I briefly considered it before deciding that it just wasn't worth it in the long run. We do good financially, and the extra money wouldn't be worth her raising our kids alone half the month and me missing out on so much. The promotion came up during a family party. My father is now retired and he was there. When he heard me mention it, he asked why I would want to pass it up. I said I don't want to miss out on my girls' childhoods and have them feel like I abandoned them. My dad's chest puffed out and he said I was attacking him. I was confused and he said I had never been quiet about being unhappy as a military kid. He went on a rant about him not being an absent dad. I was an ungrateful brat, not patriotic, telling me to move to Canada if I didn't like it here. I said I don't want to do that. I just hated growing up without a physically present father. He said he was fighting for our country. I said that was a choice, and I'm allowed to not agree with it. My wife, kids, and I left shortly after. My wife agrees with my point, but said I was a jerk for wording my reasons for not taking the promotion like I did. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your dad's insecure, childish response says it all. Not the jerk. Any decent dad would have said, I know me being gone so much caused you a lot of pain and it makes me sad. I made the best decision I could about my career and my responsibility, but I am aware that it had some major drawbacks. I'm glad you get to be a father who gets to be around for your kids since it's important to you. Not the jerk. I'm sorry your childhood was sacrificed for his false beliefs. I can see why your dad believes what he does if he's generational military. He was spoon-fed the patriotism stuff from birth. But don't make that your problem. You do you and raise your family the way you like. Good for you. Not the jerk. You are being a great father by putting your kids' lives first. Being present in their upbringing will forever be better than any job promotion. Your father got defensive because he knew you were right. Don't listen to him. You're doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to put your kids first, and you are not an ungrateful brat. It's not your fault he chose war over his son. Not the jerk. Gosh, I can't stand military guys. They never make good fathers or husbands, and they wonder why their wives don't stick around. These guys expect to be treated like royalty, when the truth is we don't need them at all. This is why I never thank anyone for their service. It's like, oh, you decided to play soldier so you can live off my tax dollars? And you expect me to worship the ground you walk on? No thanks, Sarge. I learned the hard way to never date military guys. It's a huge red flag that he has zero intelligence and isn't going anywhere in life. If you really want to fight for us, stand up for those of us who are legit ostracized like myself. Go to rally marches and demonstrations. Donate money to get the right people elected who will make a difference in this broken system we live in. Plain soldier and being a bad person like most of them do won't solve a thing. Hey Reddit boy, weren't you in the army? What do you think of that last commenter? No comment, Karen. No comment. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.